Thank you for listening to the Content Magazine podcast, Conversations with Silicon Valley's Creatives. I'm Daniel Garcia, your host and the cultivator of Content Magazine, published by SV Creates. Hi, welcome to the Content Magazine podcast. This is Daniel, I'm the cultivator of Content Magazine, and we are here today with Jorge Camacho.
Yo, what's up?
Also known as J.Duh.
Yep.
Yeah, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Just came back from the DMV, so I'm happy to be out of that room.
Yeah, right. How long was your wait?
Like 2.5 hours.
Oh man.
Yeah, I lost my ID, and I'm going on a trip, and I need an ID to get on a plane.
Yeah. Well, it'd be horrible if you didn't remember that. You went to the airport and you got to security and then had to go home. And
yeah.
Oh yeah.
I was reading online about like other options if you don't have an ID, and I guess a Costco card works.
Really?
Yeah.
A Costco card?
Yeah, because it has like your picture on it and your name and stuff.
It seems like they would want you to do some kind of like, I don't know, like maybe like a PG&E bill and a picture, or do you know what I mean? Like just a Costco card, because anybody can get a Costco. I guess because it has your photo and your name.
Yeah, and you need like an ID to get that, so I guess that works.
Yeah. All right.
For now.
That's cool. Well, good. Well, I'm looking forward to talking to you because you have an exhibition opening up on August 10th over at Empire 7.
Yep.
So I want to get into that a little bit. But before we get there, I know that you just concluded a year program.
Yes.
Right. I wanted to talk about that and even like how you came about finding about that and why you did it. And it's the Academy of...
It's called The Academy, and it's by Goodby Silverstein and Partners. They're an ad agency. They've been around for like decades. They created ads like the Got Milk is like their big one. Yeah. And last Super Bowl they had like 4 spots in there, and they do a lot of cool stuff. And
they did like what was the Budweiser? Like didn't they do the frog one too? Was that them?
Well,
they've done a lot.
Maybe, yeah. Not this past year. No, this past year they did the Jenny Ortega one with the Doritos, and then they did the one with Stone Cold, and he had like a mullet. Oh yeah. And the Aubrey Plaza, I'm having a blast.
Oh yeah, that's cool. Yeah. Okay, so then how did you even hear about the program, and why did you decide to do this? So it's an agency. It's an ad agency.
Yeah, it's huge. It's a huge agency in Chinatown, SF, and the classes were in person. I heard about it through some people that I met at SJ Made, Carlos. He had a pop-up there that was super cool. It was like this like fake convenience store. That was his booth, and he was just selling like merchandise, and followed him online, watched him go through the program for a year, and then I saw that they were taking applications. Yeah. And it was pretty easy. The application was just like a portfolio plus you got to pick your question, but the question that I picked was explain I think it was either explain Twitter or TikTok to your grandparents. That was like the question.
Really?
Yeah, and I guess I answered it right, so I got in.
What did you say? I'm kind of curious. Do you remember kind of what you kind of said?
I think I just said just don't even bother.
Oh,
yeah.
All right.
But yeah, they picked 15 out of 300 applicants, and I think 1 out of like 5-ish that were from the Bay. Everybody else like flew in from somewhere or moved.
Oh, I thought it was just like a program here for like the Bay Area. So this is like a international entries or whatever. Like
there was someone from Canada and someone from Chicago.
Right on. Someone
like had just like moved across from the East Coast, and they just got married, and they kind of left their spouse behind, or their husband, sorry. So yeah, it was pretty cool mixture of folks, and yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, and so the focus of it is I mean they're an agency, so they use all kinds of creatives, from writers to designers and stuff like that, right? So the thing was the idea of the program is to help creatives break into like a paying artistic career, right? Is that the kind of
I think
commercial communication?
For sure. I think a lot of the people that would normally go to ad school were like kind of coming out pretty cookie cutter and the same. Yeah. So they decided to offer this school, which was like a super fast crash course into the industry, and it's free. So it breaks down the barriers of like paying for school, and you're being taught by all kinds of like awesome teachers that are working in the field, and I think they just wanted to have like more fresher perspectives in the ad world by offering this school and getting people like,
what was one of the kind of like aha moments, big takeaways that you had from doing the program? What did you learn?
That's kind of hard, because I've been doing like the whole full-time artist thing since early 2017.
Yeah.
So I've kind of been in my own like bubble,
Yeah.
just like freelancing for a while. So just even having like the routine of going to school multiple times a week up in San Francisco was just like kind of like a aha, like just in my normal day-to-day life.
Yeah, yeah.
But totally, they made me, they sharpened me up a lot, like in terms of design and how to think about like what I'm creating and have like storytelling behind it, because essentially what they do is they sell stories for brands. And me as an artist, I tell stories, whether it's my own or the community that hires me to paint something for them, or whatever it is, right? And they really got me thinking more deeply about what it is I'm saying.
Yeah. So you think then on like kind of, because you do a lot of, you do murals, and then you do lettering, and you do design, and you have clients that help you like signs and stuff like that. So I guess, so you see that is going to help you be a better resource to your clients, but then in your own artwork, you think it's kind of helped you sharpen like, what am I trying to communicate, and then put that into artwork, or what?
Kind of. It got me really good at problem solving more.
Okay.
So like they definitely want you to think of your ideas and reasoning on why you're creating things.
Okay.
But they may or may not have told us that sometimes, like you just got to be really good at like working backwards and like kind of bullshitting like why you did it. So
yeah, totally. Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, actually, because I've worked with different like graphic designers and stuff like that, and then there's a couple people that I've worked with before. Like the client has wanted X, and then they come back, and then they kind of do that, and they do a couple other things, and then they try to like pitch it to me of like why this works and this is the best, and I'm like,
totally,
dude, but they said blue and you made it red, so that's just not going to work. But no, this is, and I'm like, no.
Yeah. Speaking of colors, like one of the things that just popped up into my head was like naming colors when you're pitching stuff, and how like you could super sell like your idea more if like I make a logo for you and I have the Daniel red.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Like you find out, it's like, oh, it's the Spanish. It's the same as the Spanish flag. So.
Yeah.
And I'm
exactly.
like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Awesome, good. Okay, so then let's see then. That's kind of leads into even then with, because I wanted to talk to you about the exhibition that you're doing. Mm-hmm. Is this your first solo show that you've done?
First solo show that's at a gallery. I've done one solo show before, and it lasted a weekend because I did it all on my own with the help of a lot of my friends.
Yeah.
And I pretty much took over an empty building that Local Color had. It's a nonprofit in San Jose. And there was a plant store there before, and they moved out. And
was it on Santa Clara?
It was on San Carlos.
San Carlos. Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah. But yeah, it was sitting there empty, and I asked Local Color if I could throw an art show in there, and they said yes. And I threw a little pop up in there for a weekend, and it was pretty cool. It was during the pandemic, so it's kind of like eerie to go out still. So I had to like think pretty clever on how to bring people out, and I pretty much promoted the show as a exotic snail adoption center.
Okay.
And people were showing up thinking that I actually had real life snails for sale, but no, they weren't. They were just like pen pal weird snail projects that I did with my friends during the pandemic.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so in this exhibition now, it's called Starting Fires, and the idea is that they're all large, kind of like old school matchbooks, right?
Yeah. So the idea here was that I just came out of ad school, and I had an art show immediately right after, and I didn't really have too much time to think about the art show because I was so into the program.
Yeah.
And naturally, like my brain was just thinking like about ads. So when it came to figuring out what kind of series I wanted to create, I wanted to kind of see if I could implement like everything I've learned in the past year in ad school.
Yeah.
And I did think of an idea, and that was to create fake ads for like fictitious businesses or even real businesses or bands, musicians, and create matchbook artwork for it, because matchbooks traditionally were used for like promotional items or like some kind of advertisement for like a hotel, a bar, a restaurant, whatever, right? So it was just kind of like natural for me to create some ads coming out of that school for this show.
Yeah, that's cool. So, and then how many, I mean, this was a pretty big undertaking. How many pieces are in the show? And
I don't know yet because I've just been painting every day in July, and I was shooting for 20. I got there, so now I'm trying to see how many more I could squeeze out before the show.
Yeah.
But I have different sizes and stuff, so there's gonna be stuff for everyone there, and I was trying to be mindful of like galleries being like very expensive and like scary for people to like come purchase art. So I wanted it to be inclusive.
Yeah, and they're some of them are interactive, right? I mean, some of the open.
They all are. They all are. Yeah. Okay. So each matchbook will be hanging on a wall, and you could open it up, and there'll be more information on whatever the matchbook's story is.
Yeah.
And there's like a striker on the back and everything, and I really wanted to make it functional, but it
burned out the place.
I looked up like how to make matchsticks and stuff, and it was a lot was a lot of chemicals, and I didn't want to mess with that.
You're gonna have like Homeland Security come down, knocking on your door.
Yeah, totally.
That'd be crazy. But you kind of, you showed up at Local Color and you started helping out and you started doing art, you started connecting. But you've always been somewhat of a disciplined artist in many ways. Like I know you're talking about, it was interesting for your routine to go to class like a couple times a week or go up there. But you've been pretty much putting your butt in the seat and creating for
my whole life.
Yeah, your whole life, right? I mean, like, where does that come from? Because that's definitely a discipline and a commitment,
I think I just, didn't have a plan B, so I had to make plan A work.
Yeah.
I grew up, pretty, depressed and stuff, so, that was my way out and my way of coping with, just being here, and that plan A, is still in motion, and it's awesome,
Yeah.
I'm loving life now.
Yeah. And then you're a full-time artist. You're not doing other part-time gig. And then, I mean, you're doing commercial art, right, with sign painting and those kind of stuff, right?
Yeah. I have been pretty interested in getting into the ad industry, especially after this program that I just went through. Mainly because I noticed that I do create a lot, but it's service based.
Yeah.
I don't really create much for myself, which is why it took so long to have a first gallery show.
Yeah.
And I think it's because I'm influenced a lot by a lot of the people around me in the area that are full-time artists are very much service-based themselves, or they work a normal job and they're able to create on their own time outside of work. And I kind of just want to take that break maybe and either see where that takes me to have I don't know, more appreciation when I do have studio time and see what I make versus being pretty burnt out on commissions, nonstop.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, I guess the thing is your work, you've always kind of, like you said, you've always kind of told stories, right? And you've used a lot of lettering and words and messages throughout it, right? So you think that kind of leads then in kind of the ad world in a way or something? Or?
I think so. I feel like most of the stuff I create, I try to make it pretty blunt, and witty if I can. And I'm not big on explaining much what I'm painting. I hope that most of the time when people see a painting or a mural or whatever, they come up with a better story or idea than I had, and I like that people can interpret it in their own way and all different types of ways too.
Yeah. What would you say though for this Starting Fires exhibition? What would you want people to take away, looking at this kind of body of work? What would you want them to kind of?
I guess the style of how I did it, where I had an idea that day, and then I had to design it that day, and then I had to paint it that day, and then move on to the next. Every day I made a new thing. So if you have that idea that sparks in your head, chase it. Usually your first idea is the best idea.
Yeah.
And that's something I learned in school. And that this show is kind of a showing of that, just following the first thought that comes in your head in the morning, and then at the end of the day you have your final product.
Yeah, it's really hard, right? Because you have an idea, and then you start second-guessing yourself. No, it could be, right?
Yeah, totally. And I am in an art studio with 6 or 7 other people, and sometimes, I have this habit of, asking for others' opinions, and I get, their vision, filtered into my artwork, and I have to kind of pump the brakes on that.
Yeah, yeah. What do you do then for? What was some of the inspiration then? Because I know actually when we talked before, I think you talked about like how you kind of get ideas and you just kind of like make a list or you do a journal. I think you said you were even putting them in notes or something.
Yeah.
Was it some of those kind of like past things that you're kind of getting to, or was it seriously like you woke up in the morning, you had a sip of coffee, and you saw a bird, and you thought, "Oh, I'm gonna do something"?
It was exactly that. Like I improv'd it like a thought, and then I worked backwards on why it it meant something. So like last night I was painting I don't always just like wake up paint. Like sometimes the ideas come at night, but I painted these two birds last night, and then this morning I was thinking, oh, like these two birds, like I'm not an early bird, I'm like a day bird, So I was like, oh, cool, this business could be day bird.
Oh yeah.
And then birds make a lot of noise, so I was like, oh, like Daybird record store.
Oh yeah,
and like
yeah.
that's like the matchbook that's it,
Yeah.
And then I move on to the next one.
Yeah.
So I kind of just it's coming just from like I guess like the feeling of needing to paint whatever idea I have, and then working backwards on how to problem solve and make this like an ad or digestible to somebody,
and to fit into the rest of the theme and stuff like that in a way.
Kind of
not
like
the theme, but the format.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Since it was so loose, like I was thinking, like the theme is the surface that I'm painting on, so that way I could do like letters on one piece, and then I could do like a completely different, like more realistic painting on another piece, and then a cartoon like piece, and like it doesn't really have to make sense because it's all like under the umbrella of like these are all painted on the same thing.
Yeah. That's interesting because I mean, there's a lot of, definitely a story is important, but there's a lot of discussion, in the art world about, messaging. And I kind of feel like even what you're doing is kind of like more my kind of thing is like the craft of creating and the technique is sometimes the beauty of that should be enough for a show, right? You don't always have to say either like a political thing or a cultural thing, right? It could just be made up like a bird and look great, right? I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, in my opinion. I don't know. What do you think?
I try to view shows, and I don't even have a bunch of shows, so I don't know. But anyways, I try to view shows as like albums.
Yeah.
And how like a musician will drop an album, and like that album might be like experimental, and like nobody likes the album.
Right.
But like a select number of people.
Yeah.
And then they move on to the next, and it's like a different like experiment,
Yeah.
Different collaborations, different setting, different studios that they record at, and it's kind of the same thing, like your art show is like just a body of work that you're dropping there, and then you're gonna move on to the next,
Yeah. What so doing this preparing for this exhibition, what have you kind of learned about your own kind of like style, voice, and stuff like that? That's nervous.
I definitely am leaning more towards letters. I don't know why. Like for a long time, I was always trying to avoid doing letters as much as possible because I felt like I had that down. So whenever I could like do a mural or something, I would try to do some other like figurative stuff. And since I was doing it full time, I kind of used like the projects kind of as like paid practice.
Yeah.
Totally. And just keep going.
Yeah.
And now I'm at this point where I'm kind of like going back into lettering because it's just so easy for me to do. And since I'm pumping them out pretty quickly, and I feel like the old matchbooks from like back then are very heavy text-based.
Yeah.
Most advertisement is. And going into the theme of the show and ads and stuff, trying to lean back more into lettering.
Yeah, yeah, that's cool. Who's some of the great letterers of the past that you've looked at, or is there any inspirations or people that you're like, oh my gosh?
I guess one big inspo for the past year is I've been taking Caltrain in San Francisco.
Yeah.
So just seeing like all the businesses and whatnot, as I'm riding on the train, some of them even inspired like the names of some of the matchbooks.
Oh, cool.
Like there's a lot in San Mateo. There's like a lot of like auto shops and stuff like that have like cool names, and just I don't know, traveling. Seeing all the different signs. I went to Chicago recently, and they have like their own like style of like sign writing and gold leaf windows and stuff everywhere, and it's super cool to just travel and see how different regions have different styles. And Mexico City, they have different sign writing. South America, all that stuff, it's all different.
Yeah. All right. Also, you did something with the Sharks Foundation, right? You did Los Tiburones, like some jerseys or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. How did that come about? What was the?
So Local Color has a lot of like projects that they're working with the Sharks, and they were curating their like theme nights. So like their Pride Night, their Hispanic Heritage Night, all kinds of stuff like that, and they usually have like a call out to their network, and they throw some portfolios together, and then the Sharks just pick somebody to work with, and they selected me, and super lucky because I think they were like slowly stopping the Los Tiburones night, like they're not doing it this season.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. They used to do like the jerseys, and then I got the T-shirt, and then last year they did a hockey mask, and then this year they're not doing it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I got really lucky to do it before they stopped doing it because that was one of my favorite nights, and a lot of my friends were doing it the previous year, so I was getting a little jealous. But yeah, that was super cool. They definitely know how to make you feel like a rock star, and it's surreal seeing 18,000 shirts get thrown out to people.
Right. And then on the players on the ice and all that kind of stuff, and it's like televised and photographed.
Yeah, that was super cool. I have a photo of me and Logan Couture when I was like, I don't know, maybe like 14, 15. And it was just like super surreal to like have like a side by side of like the photo then versus him now wearing the jersey. And
that's cool.
It was really, really cool.
Yeah, that's fun.
They stopped doing the players wearing the jersey thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it got like super political, and some people didn't want to wear like Pride Night jerseys, and like they just like,
so the players didn't want to necessarily wear whatever the theme was.
Some of them, yeah. So the whole league just stopped doing the mandatory players wear the theme night jerseys on the ice.
Huh, that's interesting. I wonder if they do that because a lot of times, even the Quakes too, they do that. They have like the warm up jersey, and there could be different themes and stuff like that. But I don't think they've done it. Maybe all sports now kind of said like, we don't want to. We want to sell tickets.
Yeah.
So then, okay. So after coming out of this, what do you think is going to be next for you? What do you have in mind after the paint dries on this exhibition?
I'd like to take a break. Like I said, I was thinking about like maybe starting the ad career.
Yeah.
And see where that takes me, and if anything, I just gain like a lot of self-discipline and a routine from it, and implement that into my freelance life. But I definitely want to explore that route. And then I was thinking about getting back into clothing.
Oh yeah.
I was like really big into graphic tees and stuff like that. And I do a lot of like merchandise for local shops around town, and that's something that I miss doing, because along with like creating the clothes, you kind of like what you guys do with like the pickup parties and stuff. Like we do that with like the t-shirt drops and whatnot. So like curating art shows and music shows and all that stuff is something that I miss doing a lot. And I was lucky enough to curate for San Jose Day. Yeah. So that was kind of filling that void a bit. But
I can ask you just about even that. What did you learn like as an artist helping put together, like curating for the San Jose Day show? Like, what did you kind of gain some insight from that?
Definitely on like selling aspect for sure. Like I learned that to have it very digestible, since there's so many artists in the show, and have like prices on everything. Like it'd be kind of weird going into a store and there's no prices on anything, and you had to like talk to somebody, So definitely some learning curves on that. And then it was kind of difficult to do the whole curation thing, because like we wanted to definitely keep it like people that were based or from San Jose, but we didn't want to like pull out background checks or anything, you know what I mean, like prove that you've been here for XYZ, so it's kind of just like word of mouth. It was like we invited like 20, 30 folks, and then we're like, we trust you to bring somebody else like that meets the criteria of like being a good representation of San Jose. So it kind of just snowballed into them inviting their friend, recommending that person, and then we had a pretty diverse show out of it.
How many pieces ended up being hung for
I think show? This past year was like 102 or 101. Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, it looked great too. It actually, and just because you had the size, everything was the same size and the height and everything. It looked really
Yeah, we try to
nice.
do that so that way we get fresh work, because a
Yeah,
lot of artists have a backstock of work, and
yeah,
we didn't want to show the same work that's been shown around everywhere, so we kind of just pick like a random size every year and
yeah,
hope that they do it right. And for the most part, most of them do the right size.
yeah.
But we have this little joke. We call it like the wall of shame. Like we'll just like put the
Awkward ones.
yeah,
The
just like
not-
cluttered, like saloon style on a certain part of the wall. But
yeah,
yeah, it's super cool that so many people are down to participate.
yeah. That's cool. So then also too, yeah. What's some advice that you'd give somebody who's kind of like because I know you kind of jumped in, started meeting people, doing stuff. But what advice would you give somebody who might be listening to this, who's like, I want to get into the art world. I want to be like J.Duh.
Exactly that. Just start meeting people.
Yeah.
I find that like growing up, especially doing like skateboarding and graffiti and stuff, you could always go to like any city and meet like another skateboarder or graffiti writer, and they'll like unlock like a circle of people in that area that will show you a good time.
Yeah.
Or like, be people that you would make really good friends with. So yeah, definitely meet these people that are everywhere in San Jose, and it'll just click once you start doing that like pretty often. And
Well, that's the thing. Is like
opportunities will
how many gigs and stuff have you gotten because of connections with other people, like a relationships? And
all
stuff?
of it. Like it's kind of surprising, and this is something I didn't realize, that I'm super privileged in the sense that like I never had to do any cold calling. Like everything's always came in my inbox, and that's because of word of mouth from doing one project, and then that rolled into a bunch more. And also again the community. So like if I know this person and they get a gig that's like lettering based or something, and they're too busy to do it, they'll throw it to me.
Yeah.
And then I'll do the same thing. Like if somebody wants like some realistic stuff, and I don't want to deal with that, then I'll throw it to somebody else. So like the community here, like helps each other out. It could be like crab in a buckety, but I am pretty lucky with the people that I'm surrounded by, and they're very like uplifting, and I feel like everybody just wants to see San Jose thrive as like a really like creative Bay Area, South Bay like spot, like.
Yeah. What would you think? What would you say is some of the distinctives of the South Bay, San Jose kind of like art scene, and even some of the things you'd like to see changed?
What's interesting is some of my classmates, they're like born and raised Bay Area, San Francisco, and I'd ask them, I'd be like, hey, have you come down to San Jose? And they're like, yeah, I've been to Great America. And I'm like, dude, that's not San Jose. Or they're like, oh yeah, I went to Santana Row or something like that. And I'm like, man, you need to come down here. So like once they started coming down here, I brought them. It was crazy actually. We got off the Caltrain. We went to like a punk show at Chromatic Coffee, and then we went to a pickup party.
Oh, cool.
That was happening right after the content one. And then right after that there was like another show, and then I think we went to a hockey game that night. I don't know. It was like a really crazy day, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And they had like a blast, and then we brought them down to Viva Gaia, and they were just like mind blown, like riding around through San Jose, seeing all like the murals and signs and like just the different neighborhoods and stuff. And like it's pretty slept on. And I think one thing that I realized, showing them around San Jose, is that like a bigger city like San Francisco with their scene, in one like weekend there's like 20 opening nights,
Right.
for an art show, and like a bunch of music shows going on like all on one Saturday, where in San Jose you'd be lucky if there's like 2 or 3, if it's not a
Right.
first Friday or something,
Yeah.
So because of that, the community kind of gathers,
Right.
to like that person's opening or show or whatever, in a way that like makes it feel like a small town like community.
Yeah.
And that's really like lucky for us,
Yeah. That's good. Cool. Hey, so what's when you're working? Do you like listen to music or anything like that? What's kind of like what do you listen to?
It depends on if I'm painting like a mural, or if I'm painting like in the studio or like somewhere chill. if I'm painting a mural, I usually like listening to like hardcore and stuff that'll just get me like hyped up, and I'm like shaking the cans like violently. But if I'm in the studio, I like podcasts actually, because I'm alone for like hours and hours and hours, and if I pick up my phone to change the song or whatever, I might like catch myself doom scrolling. You know what I mean? So like
totally.
If I put on a podcast or an album or something, then that's like 1 hour that I won't like touch my phone, and then I'll paint.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Are you much of a reader? Do you read at all?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. What have you read lately?
I've been reading Hey Whipple Squeeze This. It's like an ad book. I'm just like really trying to nerd out on the ad thing. You know what I mean? Because like it's not going anywhere. It's only going to get worse. And if I could be part of like the group of folks that can make cool and fun ads, like cultural ads, like, man, there's so many references you probably don't even realize that you like if you're like telling a joke or something, you might reference like an ad.
Totally.
And I just want to be part of that like cultural movement of just like these staples.
Yeah. It is, right? Yeah, so much of those kind of like advertising sound bites, even, well, just media in general, how it shapes thoughts and cultures and attitudes and stuff like that.
Yeah, like, I don't know why when I was saying that, I couldn't stop thinking of like boardwalk. You know what I mean? And like that's an ad, and it's just like everybody knows that, and it's in your head, and like you see how it made you laugh? Like they're funny, if they're good at least.
So then what do you think, what is where does the line between fine art and commercial art, I mean, this is the age-old thing, right? Where does that get blurred? Where does that separate? And even you as a creative, how do you approach things from fine art to commercial art?
I think commercial art, you got to separate your ego and just, do what you're hired to do. Mm-hmm. And a lot of it, won't feel like work, but sometimes it does feel like work. And the fine art stuff, it's more just like, I don't know, it makes you feel good more. Or at least for me, because I have a lot of friends that like, they're like musicians, and they get like their release from that. Yeah. But like they paint like commercially, and like they don't paint for fun. Because what they do for fun is music, for example. Yeah. Or photography or whatever it is, right? And it's kind of hard balancing both when your outlet is creating and painting, which is kind of why I wanted to explore the 9-to-5 like ad thing. Not like trying to throw in the towel or anything, but I just want to see like what type of stuff I'll create, like having like to not hustle so hard. You know what I mean? And being able to create like whatever I want. And I guess I don't really know too much of like that side of me because I don't have that time to really create, for the first time all year I'm creating artwork like for this show, but I'm having to do it at such like a extreme like one piece every day type thing, and it'd be nice to like work on something, not touch it for like a weekend or whatever, and then jump back to it, I'm curious to see how exploring that side is going to be, and I don't really have an answer for that.
No, that's totally, I thought that was a great answer. Yeah, that's cool. Actually, I could see what you're saying is that I guess then the fine art side would be more, it is a little bit more of the personal expression, right?
Yeah.
I mean, not that, but the thing is like even commercial art, I mean, that's the thing I like with photography, I think it's great because you can do like fine art photography, you can do like so many different styles, you just do it differently, right? And even for creative, like graphic design or illustrator, if you're doing it for a client, like you said, you're serving the client's goals, so you may not like it, do you know what I mean? But you still are bringing your skill. But then when you do it for a fine art, then you have you're having the alignment of the feeling, the emotion, the intention, and the craft and the expression all at one.
Yeah, for sure. I imagine like more service-based artists, like a tattoo artist is probably a super good example because they get people walking in and they want like their grandma or something, or a quote, and They do offer like their own designs,
Right.
but like very rarely do people come just for their artwork. Usually it's like I view a tattoo artist as like a service based, like
Right.
a sign painter,
Totally.
you know. So it is something that I definitely want to do, because when I do have that free time to make like my normal art,
Yeah.
because I do like I am like a one person team with sometimes help with like when I work with like local color and stuff. Like most of the stuff I do, like if I create like a t-shirt design or artwork or whatever, and I invest all that time,
Yeah.
I need to sell it like right away.
Yeah.
I can't just sit on boxes of shirts.
Yeah.
I need to get rid of that
Yeah,
that
yeah.
weekend.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I can't invest and then just sit on it. Like being a working artist, I gotta get rid of it.
Yeah.
So because of that, that does kind of filter like what I want to actually paint.
Totally.
Because I need to also think about like who's gonna buy this.
Yeah.
You know,
You gotta
like,
think
I
of
can't-
price point and what
I can't.
it is.
I want to
Yeah.
paint big. I'm a spray painter, right? And
Yeah.
and I'm painting on these tiny canvases because most people don't have gigantic walls in their home.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so I have to paint very small because I have to get rid of it and sell it.
Yeah.
You know, being a working artist.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it would
Yeah.
be nice to experiment a little
Yeah.
bit more.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, I think that's great. I mean, then you know, exploring kind of like creative communications, like ad agency or an agency. So you're still creating, you're still learning, you're still growing, and then you can get to the stability. That's the thing is like, you know, the freelance life is fun and it's good, and some people are more geared for it, but it's also really tiring. I mean, like when you're everything that you're doing, every single moment is thinking about like, okay, I got to make money, I got to do this, I got to get that, I got to, you know what I mean?
Right.
And then it can drain your creativity.
Yeah.
So what you're saying, I like what you're saying. Like if you kind of like have this commercial side and then the space to stand in front of the canvas
Yeah.
and like
Yeah.
let it flow.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm getting better at balancing out both. I think it was
Yeah.
kind of tough. Like I definitely shouldn't have jumped into being a full-time artist at the age of like 19 or 20. I can't remember. And I'm 29 now. So, yeah, I probably should have just like
I don't know. You
grew up a little bit more and got a little bit more responsible before doing that jump. But
Yeah.
naturally, I guess I just start the fire, you know, and like
Yeah.
watch it grow.
Yeah. I was the same way too, though. Like I wasn't doing well in school, and I started getting photo gigs. So I quit school, started doing it, and then when I look back, I said, if I would have stayed in school, you know, maybe my career and trajectory would have been kind of different and could have beat some of the low points and hungry nights and all that kind of stuff.
Totally.
But then at the same time, it's like, well, I don't know if I really would have learned what I needed to learn if I would try to do it. Like, it wasn't my personality to do it that way.
Yeah.
Like, I have to do it the hard way.
It's a very hard fast track to getting like closer to your dream, whatever that is, you know. And I think if it was easy, more people would do it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm not saying all this to like try to make people not want to do that. Like, fucking do it. But
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I don't see enough people talking about like all the back end struggles and stuff like that when it comes to like really grinding for your stuff, you know, like everything on social media is such like a highlight reel of everything.
Totally.
You know, and it's nice to have conversations with people and you know, pick up pointers and learn from each other, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you've put in the hours, though. That's the thing, too, right? So if school or no school, at the end of the day, and no matter what you're doing, and I just saw, because, you know, it was like the Olympics are going on, and then they just did some kind of like thing of these different athletes, you know, and they were all like, it was an ad, and it was like a couple different athletes, and they were talking about it, and it was basically about hard work and discipline, right? Mm-hmm. They're like, talent is one thing, but the reason why I'm here today is because of my hard work and my discipline, right? And every athlete doing that, like they all had talent, but if you didn't, you know, get up and do the work, you wouldn't be where you're at. You know, without that.
Yeah,
so.
And it's funny that you said get up, because like that's kind of how I viewed it. You know, like growing up doing graffiti and stuff, it's all about like repetition and like you're like, it's like the more you see something, the more you'll remember it.
Yeah.
And like get excited when you see it again because you're like, I don't know, you've seen it already. You know, it's kind of like the Cybertruck. You know, like when you see it around, you're like, oh, there it is, there it is, there it is. And like I kind of try to use that like getting up, because that's what it's called, like getting up. I try to use that like mind state of like wanting to put my work out everywhere.
Yeah.
And I try to do that by like doing as many signs as I could, as many like commercial things as possible.
Yeah.
So that way, when I start shifting over to the fine art stuff, that like name will be recognizable, and they'll want to go to like support the show.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Look at that, you're a marketer. Yeah, cool. All right, that's good. Let's do the last thing. I'm hungry for lunch. Where does Jorge say I should go to eat lunch?
I'm obsessed with Bebo's.
Bebo's?
Bebo's New York pizza, but not the one in Little Italy.
Oh, okay.
They make it a little different. I like the one in Willow Glen.
Oh, okay. I didn't know they had one in Willow Glen.
Oh man, that's the best one.
Oh, okay.
That's the best one for
All
sure.
right.
Yeah.
There it is. Cool. All right. And then so the exhibition is August 10th, opening up at Empire 7. What time does it open up?
It's 6 to 9. We're gonna have Flipside Lovers DJ. They're really dope. And DJ Nicotine. He's my good friend from high school. He's like getting into DJing, so this is gonna be like one of his first like sets in front of people, like a lot of people. So it's gonna be fun.
Okay, good. I'll make him nervous.
Yeah, please do. Give him some requests
Stand over,
that you know he doesn't have.
Right, exactly. Cool. And it's called Starting Fires.
Starting Fires.
And first solo show and a kind of like
first solo show that I don't have to like run everything, like the door and all that stuff and sales and whatnot. And it's in a gallery. And Empire 7 has been around for a long, long time. And super excited to finally have a show there. I've been working with them for a couple years now. Yeah. And man, I can't tell you how excited I am, like to finally have a show there. Those guys are awesome. Shout out Empire and their team.
Yeah. Cool. So that's it. Make sure you get out August 10th to Starting Fires over at Empire 7 with J.Duh. Yeah. Cool. Thanks,
Thank you for listening to the Content Magazine podcast.
Thank you.
Follow us on social media at Content Mag. Become a member and help us to continue to tell the stories of the South Bay creatives. This episode's music is 408 by Jack Pavlina. Follow him on Spotify and also on his Instagram at Jack Pavlina Music.